myself. My name is Lynn Steele, and I'm a Senior Vice President, District Manager with BBVA Compass here in the Inland Empire. And I know a lot of the folks I've been talking to this morning have no idea what a BBVA Compass is. We're a bank, a financial institution, so we're here today to help you become financially fit and take care of your today, tomorrow, and your future. And Richard's going to speak about retirement. Want to just fill you in a little bit about BBVA Compass and what we offer. We're very interested in working with our communities. Our commitment is to help folks build a better future. So we can offer financial education to school children and adults as well. And at BBVA Compass, we are a full-service bank. We offer checking accounts, savings accounts, consolidation loans, home mortgage loans, and financial advice to help you to save money for your retirement. In getting prepared for the conference, I was talking to the folks with Loma, and this is the first time in 6 years they've ever offered this type of workshop where we're talking about women's finances. So I got really excited about it, and I started thinking about myself. I've been in banking for a very, very long time. I won't even tell you the number of years, because I look good for my age. And as you know, there's been a lot of mergers and acquisitions with all the financial institutions in the last year. So I myself, being in banking all these years, working with financial advisors, have I really taken care and prepared myself for my retirement? And I'm here to say and open myself wide open, no, I really have not. So this year, my New Year's resolution was, because I'm less than 10 years away from the minimum age for my retirement at the age of 66. So I thought it was really important it's important for me to prepare because I want to have a certain lifestyle when I retire. I want to be able to, when I retire, because I've raised a family, I've worked really hard, my family's fantastic, I've built myself a great career. I want to be able to retire, hopefully younger than the actual retirement age, and really enjoy myself. But what's that going to take from me is I need to prepare better for my retirement. As I mentioned, I worked for many different institutions. I still have 401ks and retirement accounts at many different places. So I still, even though I'm a banker, I haven't consolidated that, and I really haven't sat down in many years with a financial advisor to come up with a really specific plan so that I am prepared when I retire. I want to travel, I want to go visit my grandchildren, I want to have a specific lifestyle. So that's why we're here today, to help all of you, and hopefully when you leave today, it'll, just like Joan gave us her top, I left after 5 or 6, initiatives for you to really think about, go and act upon. So my hope for all of you is that when you leave here today, you'll go out and you will seek out financial advice and really take a look at your future. Just to let you know, we do have a booth in the exhibit hall. I have some of my managers there, and Richard, after the presentation, will be available there for any additional information that you'd like to have. But without further ado, I would like to introduce my financial advisor who works for Compass, Mr. Richard Cornell. He's been a financial advisor for many, many years. And I know he's going to not talk a lot about himself, but what is important when you do have a financial advisor is it's somebody who listens to you. There's a lot of advisors out there, and you might walk in, you might call them on the phone, and they might want to dictate to you what you need to do to prepare yourself for your future. So it is important while you're looking for a financial advisor to support you in what other lifestyle you want to be accustomed to in your retirement years, that it's somebody who listens to you, what your needs are, and then they come up with the appropriate solutions that you can attain that lifestyle that you need. So, Richard?
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for that introduction. And thank you for giving yourself as an example in regards to 401ks and retirement plans, and how often and how easy it is to forget about your own investments, your own 401k. I wouldn't be surprised if a few of you here that are still working are contributing to your pensions, your 401ks, but you're so bloody busy working, you don't have time to open up those statements and see how it's doing. Quite often you're slicing it open and you're just putting this nice little file, making sure it's accessible if you need it later on down the road. And I'm sure if I were to take a tally in this room, a few of you would raise your hands in regards to that. But thank you, Lynn, for sharing that. As she mentioned, we are here to help you out in assisting you with 5 strategies that can help you take control of your financial future. For me, I'd like to say for your financial health. Because if you take care of your finances, your health will reflect it. I know a lot of people in 2008, 2001, when they had 401ks that became 2.5Ks, 2.5Ks. And they're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I was planning on retiring in a few years from now. There's no way in the world I'll be able to retire at the time frame I was looking at before. And now those people are still working today. But if they hung in there and stayed in the markets and were properly diversified, and she's nodding her head over here, you not only would have recovered, but you'd probably be even above that point that you were at in 2001 or in 2008. But first of all, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be here representing BBVA Compass, and more specifically, BBVA Compass Investment Solutions. Of course, there are all these other meetings that are going on, but when you leave today, you will have peace of mind in knowing that, you know what, I took care of that check mark at the beginning of the year, as Lynn was talking about, in making sure that my finances were taken care of. Because if you don't take care of your finances, it doesn't matter how much you work out. It doesn't matter how much you work. It'll just be going in the drain and it won't be growing as well as it should be. But hopefully we give you that peace of mind moving forward. So let's go ahead and start. My name is Richard Cornell. I'm a financial advisor that's been in the business for about 18 years. Started off with the likes of Merrill Lynch and even spent some time on the trading floor in San Francisco where all that screaming and yelling goes on. Controlled chaos, really. And after that, I was proprietary equity trader, which lended itself to eventually becoming a financial advisor once again. And the good thing about what I do now is that I actually have frontline experience from having traded on a trading floor to help my clients out. So as I stand up here giving you some advice, I'm not standing up here just reading something off the board or off my laptop. I read it to you knowing exactly what has happened in the market. And having been in the frying pan myself along with my clients, I'm there to help you out. So today, as Lynn has mentioned, we will have a booth all day long down there to answer any questions you might have in regards to investments, in regards to banking, your mortgages, in regards to anything regarding investments. We're here to answer those to make you feel a little more at ease in regards to your finances, okay? Now, in regards to questions, I highly encourage them because that means you're awake, first of all, and not sleeping. Second of all, however, I would encourage you to hold off on those questions unless it's I need that question answered now. I'll go ahead and answer it as best as I can. But if you can hold off on those questions until the end, the last 10, 15 minutes, we'll go ahead and address those then. And then lastly, if any of you have any cell phones, I know you do, if you could please turn that off for a little while, just like those movie theaters, so that everyone else can kind of listen. All right, so let's go ahead and start. Women in Investing, as it says, 5 strategies that can help you take control of your financial future. The rising financial power of women. Here are some interesting stats for all of you, and I'm sure a few of you already are familiar with it. Women now control $18.4 trillion in consumer spending. Women comprise nearly 2/3 of the U.S. workforce. That amazed me right there. Nearly 40% of working women out-earn their husbands. My mother's a perfect example of that. And I'll kind of go into that briefly. One of the reasons why it's an honor to be here today is that my mother was one of those women that when we were younger, we were a struggling family to try to make our ends meet. And in fact, my mother decided at that point that she was going to stay home and take care of the kids. However, even though my dad had 1, 2 jobs, and I think he was only getting 2, 3 hours of sleep a night after talking to him later on, it wasn't enough money to help provide for the family. So my mother had to go ahead and follow up with her vocation or her profession that she started back in college. It was to be a pharmacist. But she gave that up when she came here to the United States to take care of the kids. But at that time, of course, finances were tough, and she's like, you know what? I've got to help you out, honey. We need some extra money. I don't care how hard you work. It's not enough for the family. And of course, my father grudgingly said, no, we're okay. I'll just work a little harder. And one thing led to another. Thank goodness my mother was a strong lady and didn't take no for an answer. I see a few smiles here because you're probably that lady yourself. And what happened is that as time went on, she became that pharmacist. And it was interesting because I was thinking about how it affected our lives, but more importantly, how it affected our cousins and relatives too, from her example. And the interesting thing was that as she was going on with her profession as a pharmacist, lo and behold, further down the road, her own niece wanted to be a pharmacist too, just like her aunt. And the craziest part was that her niece, who was from Canada, took a little residency at Loma Linda for about 6 months. Lo and behold, that's how that all ties in. So I'm grateful for what Loma Linda represents. Their medical field in all aspects and medical science is top notch. And everyone knows that in this room. And obviously, they're here for you ladies to help make sure that your financial health and your regular health in all aspects are taken care of. But I just wanted to share that. Next, yet women also face some unique challenges today. Many women in the sandwich generation are caught in the middle caring for aging parents, children, and other family members. Anybody in here kind of fall into that category? I see a hand back there. Yes. I mean, I work out there in the desert area, Palm Springs, Palm Desert, and that seems to be the case for many people that move out there to take care of their parents and make sure that their parents are comfortable as they continue to age. So 5 retirement challenges for women and how to help overcome them. Let's review those. First, the first challenge is lower earnings and retirement savings. Women earn 77 cents for every dollar earned by a man. Don't throw any tomatoes at me, please. Women contribute 30% less to their retirement plans than men. Also, women average $108,000 in retirement savings compared to the $149,000 for men, a difference of $41,000. So what's the strategy? How do you overcome that? You maximize your IRAs and your 401k plans, okay? We'll go into that in greater depth. Here are some key reasons to increase your IRA and your 401k contributions. Number 1, tax deferral. Capitalize on the power of time and compounding to build more wealth for retirement. The first time I heard tax deferral, I was like, okay, what does that mean? Tax deferral basically means, let's say your income is about $50,000 a year, but you decide, you know what, I'm going to put away some of this money for future retirement. And you put away $5,000 of that. Well, that $5,000 that you tax deferred was not taxed. And in the meantime, went into your 401k, went into your pension, and it continued to grow and compound over that time frame until you went ahead and retired and took advantage of that. But that's, in essence, what tax deferral means. Number 2, pre-tax contributions. Invest more in your 401k, and you may take home nearly the same amount of after-tax income. Ladies, if you'd like to, feel free to sit over here because I know that angle is a little difficult to see things, but feel free to move on over at any time. Sure. Third, company matches. Your employer may match up to 100% of your 401k contribution, increasing the value of your assets without adding to the cost. And we'll go into great detail in just a second in regards to that. But let's touch upon this. Really neat illustration. I see some ladies smiling too. A little a day can add up over time. Saving an additional $5 a day, the price of one latte, or whatever you like to drink in the morning to wake you up, has the potential to add nearly $141,000 plus to your IRA over 25 years. You're probably like, there's no possible way. I ran a hypothetical, not even a hypothetical. I sat down with some very close friends of mine. They're in their 30s, and they're trying to make sure that they have a roadmap taken care of from, so that when they get older, not only their kids, but themselves are taken care of. And we went through all their finances, a breakdown of their income versus expenses, and for some reason we couldn't figure out how come their income was here, but their expenses were above their income. And it was funny because I was trying to pry a few teeth to find out the truth. And then finally, after a few minutes, the husband grudgingly said, okay. Every time before I go to work, I have a latte, or not even a latte, I think a coffee, and then I also have a health bar. And I said, well, how much does that cost per day? He said, about $7. Okay. And then I calculated it. To him, it didn't seem like much. But then I calculated for him. And if you break out your calculators, you see the same thing. $7 times 30 days, times 12 months, it came out to approximately $2,500 a year. I see a few oohs. So think about those habits that you have on a daily basis. It can seriously deter from what you're trying to accomplish in regards to retirement. Okay? So it pays to contribute more to your 401k. Here's a 401k example for investors under age 50. Married, filing jointly, tax filing status. Now, to help make this easier for you to understand, Mary here is an illustration of someone who is contributing 4% of her $155,000 annual salary versus Jane, who's contributing 11.3% of her $155,000 annual salary. Of course, this is just for illustration purposes. Annual contribution for Mary is $6,200 a year. For Jane is $17,500, almost triple that amount. Current taxable income. After these deductions are made, Mary's at $148,000. Which basically means she's still in the 28% tax bracket. As for Jane, because she invested more into her 401k, her current taxable income was $137,500, which meant her tax bracket was a little lower at 25. And at the end of the day, net after-tax income was $107,000, slightly greater than the $103,000. But most importantly, the annual contribution by Jane was almost triple that amount. Startling fact. Now, in regards to total contributions over 25 years, for Mary, it would have added up to $155,000. And some people would say, that's okay, I might be able to live off of that. But I think if you were to go ahead and use Jane's approach, I think you might have a better shot at retiring comfortably with $437,000. Which would you rather take? Now, a balance with an 8% return over 25 years, which basically means if this money here for both of those ladies were to get 8% return over 25 years, this is the most important part. Yes, you're packing away those nuts for those cold winters, but you want it to grow. Okay? You want those dollars. Imagine this in your mind. You want those dollars to be working out because you want them to get bigger. You want them to grow. Okay? So you want an 8% return, or an 8% return is the average of the S&P 500, which represents the top 500 companies here in the U.S. And if you were to get that return, that $155,000 would be equivalent approximately to $489,000. The $437,000 for Jane would be closer to $1.3 million. Pretty amazing, huh? So, in essence, at the end of the day, earnings of about $334,000 for Mary, earnings for Jane of about $921,000. That represents how much more the money grew after those contributions at an 8% clip for 25 years. So in essence, by maximizing her 401k, Jane would pay less tax, receive almost the same amount of annual income, and earn $587,000 plus more over 25 years. This is something that should be etched in your mind in regards to what you want to accomplish as time goes on. Next, challenge number 2, rising retirement costs. Okay, women tend to have higher retirement expenses than men. For example, a woman retiring at age 65 can expect total health care expenses to top $417,000 in retirement compared to the $369,000 for men. Exorbitant amount. Do you ladies have enough money set aside for those total health care expenses as you age? Next, women also spend nearly 3 times what men spend on long-term care services. $124,000 on average versus $44,000 for men. Okay? And of course, you'll see in the next couple of pages, a bit of that has to do with the fact that women outlive men by 5 years. So of course, you're just having to spend a bit more. So strategy number 2 to overcome those rising retirement costs, make sure your portfolio has the growth potential necessary to keep up with rising costs. Okay? And in regards to that, one of the things I want to talk about is inflation. Okay? Rising costs. Okay, whoever answers this question correctly gets a free Coke. So 1970. How much do you think this Coca-Cola was worth? 79 cents? Who said 23 cents? 23? Who said 26? 35? Oh, geez, I can't share this with that many people. Who said 23? Okay, it's closer to 23 cents. Okay, how much is this today? Approximately, if you didn't buy it here. I paid $3.50 downstairs for this. I was like, am I at Disneyland? But of course, you have to support Starbucks. And these are great facilities. But imagine if you had that same 23 cents that you used to buy this Coca-Cola in 1970, you'd only be able to buy 1/5 or maybe even like 1/10 of this today. That's the power of inflation going against you. So that's why it's so important to make sure that your money, and who answered 23 cents? Here we go. At least I know you'll be awake the entire time. Okay. So that's the power of inflation working against you. And typically, who here can answer what the inflation rate historically has been from 1926 till today? Lately, it's probably been closer to 7%, yes, especially when those gas prices were out the roof. Any few other guesses? Inflation rate? 12? I know, I think that's what we've been feeling lately, the last couple of years, is inflation rates that high. Inflation rate, since that time frame, has been approximately 4%. 4%. So that basically means the clothes, the shoes, ladies, that you wear all increase about 4% per year. So we all know that what we tried to buy back in the day will not buy us the same thing today, whether it's the Coca-Cola or anything else that we desire. So that's why you need to make sure that your money's growing at least 4% to keep up with inflation. I know a few of you ladies here probably have money stashed away at a bank or in your backyard with a shovel, and you dug that shovel and you put that money in the ground and made sure no one was going to know where it was, but at least you weren't going to lose that money, right? But you know what? I could probably guarantee you that you would slowly lose the value of that money as time went on. Yeah, it was safe, but the value was worthless as time went on. And that's an important feature. Inflation. Make sure you keep up with it and try to get at least 4% or greater on your returns. So review the role of equities in your investment portfolio. Equities represent stocks, okay? It's actually a good word. Stocks are among the few investments that offer the growth potential necessary to outpace inflation and taxes. Since 1926 to 2012, equities, stocks, before inflation, as I mentioned, about 4%, has averaged about 9.8% return. Not bad. In comparison to after taxes or after inflation and taxes, your return was cut in half to 4.7%. Next, bonds, if you took the conservative approach, as most people did, from 2001 after September 11 till most recently, probably many of you are still in bonds and maybe even getting hurt in the last 6 months to a year. The average return on that has been 5.7%. But after inflation, after taxes, you're at break even, practically. Startling fact, right? And then cash, those of you that are like, hey, I want the cash in my accounts, 3.5% before inflation and taxes. Well, you know what? That 3.5% isn't even enough. The value of that dollar that you have in that safe or in the bank is decreasing below its current value. Okay? So think long term, ladies. Stocks have generated positive returns in every 15-year period since 1926. Now, this is really good because this illustrates the importance of short-term investing versus long-term investing. Okay? The greatest alleviator of all the ups and downs of the markets that you see on a daily basis that can give you a huge headache and practically give you a heart attack, okay, can be alleviated with time. As you can see here, 1 year period. If you were to invest, this part here, the blue part represents percentage of periods with gain. What's the probability during that time frame, since 1926, that the stock market has been profitable? 72% of the time in 1 year. That means if you took a 1 year shot, you had a 28% probability of maybe losing money. Okay? Feel free to move on in towards the middle, ladies, if you can't see anything too clearly, because I know some of these angles are difficult to see. A 5 year period, there's an 86% chance you increase the likelihood of being profitable, 86% chance of being profitable, versus a 14% chance of losing money. If you extend it even a little further and able to invest longer, 10 years, 95% chance of probability of being profitable versus a 5% loss or 5% chance of loss. And then the 15-year period happens to be that sweet spot. If you're able to invest that money long enough and ride out those ups and downs like some people did, they begrudgingly held on to their investments in 2001 when they saw it just get crushed. As I mentioned, those 401ks became 201ks. And then they saw it again in 2008, and they're like, oh no, what's happening? This can't be happening again. But if you weather it out over a 15-year period since the Great Depression, you would have been profitable. Okay? I know my own mother was one of those clients back in the day where while she was working as a pharmacist, after 2001, she panicked. She panicked. She got out literally, I can remember the day because I remember the day she called me and said, I'm getting out. It was April 24, 2002, I believe, or 2000, I think it was 2002. That was the bottom of the market after the dot-coms and all those stocks crashed. And she literally got out of her portfolio at the very bottom. And she promised that she wouldn't get back into it for a long time. But thank goodness she got back into it after a few years, and it did quite well. So 15-year periods are that sweet spot. So challenge number 3, inadequate retirement income. Over the last decade, the median income of women aged 65 or older was approximately 25% lower than those of men. Women working full-time earned a median income of $37,118 in 2011, compared to the $48,000 plus for men. In 2011, the average annual Social Security income received by women 65 years and older was $12,000, compared to men at $15,000 plus. So what is strategy number 3 to overcome that? Take full advantage of your Social Security needs. There are seminars upon seminars that go on just in regards to Social Security, and this hopefully will answer a few of those questions very quickly and succinctly. Consider delaying the start of your Social Security benefits. Maximize potential benefits by waiting until age 70 to begin Social Security. Okay? Now, of course, this isn't something we recommend to absolutely everybody. There comes a point sometimes when you are age 62 and you're like, I need the money now. If you fall into that circumstance, then yes, by all means, take advantage of it. But an example of this is increase your monthly income by as much as 76% from Social Security, okay? At age 62, that's the first age bracket in which you can take it out. If this lady assumed a monthly benefit of $1,000 at full retirement age, which is 66, if she would have taken it at age 62, she would have only taken out $750. But if she would have waited until age 66, she would have taken out $1,000. Age 66 is that sweet spot, okay? From that point on, it's gravy, because if you wait until age 70, because you have enough money coming from other sources, you literally would increase your Social Security by 76%. Okay? Are you able to see that on that side?
From age 60.
Yes, from age 62. Significant. Okay, significant. So that illustration in and of itself will show you why it's important, if you can, hold off on your Social Security. So use personal savings and other sources of income as a bridge to fund retirement in the early years, so you can defer Social Security as long as possible. And we'll dip into and talk about those other things or other funds that you can dip into to help out during retirement. So capitalize on spousal opportunities. Married women can receive the greater of their own benefit or 50% of their husband's benefit at full retirement age. Remember, age 66. And I'll dive into this a little deeper to clarify it. Your benefit, if you would have taken it yourself at age 66, it would be $1,000, as was illustrated the page before. Your husband's benefit, assuming both of you were age 66, approximately would have been $2,400. This is just an illustration. Okay, if you were to have waited until then and take half of his, you actually could receive a Social Security check of $1,200 versus your $1,000. But that's if you only wait until 66. Okay? So be careful about timing. Your spousal benefit may be reduced up to 35% if any benefits are taken prior to your full retirement age. Full retirement age, once again, is age 66. Challenge number 4, longer life expectancy. As I mentioned, this is it. Women outlive men by an average of 5 years. Women are also 4 times more likely to be widowed than men. Probably 3/4 of my clients are widows. Strategy number 4, guarantee more income for life to help ensure that your essential and lifestyle expenses are covered throughout retirement. Okay? Really important. Guarantee an income that'll help continue the lifestyle that you like at this time. Social Security and pensions may not provide enough income for retirement. Okay? Sources of retirement income. Income that's guaranteed to be there for life. Okay? This is income that you know you're going to get when that retirement time comes. First, Social Security and pensions, places that you had worked for prior. Second, earnings from work, if you were still working beyond the years you typically would want to. Next, assets, and other income. Okay? So supplement the income you receive from Social Security and pensions with additional investments that can guarantee your income for life. Because we want to make sure you ladies have enough income to live comfortably so that your financial health is in good order and you can have that peace of mind as we talked about. Okay, so how do we address those issues of income? Annuities. Annuities offer guaranteed lifetime income and more. Okay? Choose from many different kinds of annuities, including fixed, indexed, and variable annuities. All annuities offer guaranteed lifetime income through annuitization. Okay? This is the highlight in regards to annuities, is that we can provide you that income to get you through the rest of your life. There have been numerous times where I sit down with an 82, 85-year-old, and they ask me the question, will my money last me through the rest of my life? They might have like $150,000 or $250,000 left, and they ask that golden question, do I have enough money to live off of? Okay? So for some variable annuities with an optional income benefit, provide income for life that's guaranteed to rise for a certain number of years, even in a down market and after withdrawals begin. So an illustration of this is variable annuities or index annuities, which are tied to the market. For example, let's say the market were to go down and go down aggressively, down 25% like it has in the past. Well, the good thing is that there are annuities that can still have safeguards and still make that money grow 8% per year, or whatever percent they provide, even if the market's going down, which is fantastic. Challenge number 5, more adversely affected by unexpected events. Women are more adversely affected by unexpected events. Life events such as divorce and widowhood have a more pronounced impact on women than men. In fact, a woman's household income fell by 41% after a divorce and 37% after the loss of a spouse, compared to a decline of only 23% and 22% respectively for men. So how will you ladies overcome that? Strategy number 5, prepare for the unexpected with adequate insurance, an emergency cash fund, and a plan to maximize divorce and survivor benefits. Very important, ladies. My own wife, okay, who I've been married to 8 years now, she is absolutely making sure I am insured so that if anything happens to me, she and the kids are taken care of. We even talked about it this morning. It had nothing to do with this, but she's like, Rich, you got to make sure you get that insurance. And I don't have it yet. I apologize, but I will soon. Okay? The value of a safety net. Life insurance, if you're married, think about life insurance for both you and your spouse. What protects you from loss will also protect your family if you pass away. Long-term care. More than 70% of today's nursing home residents are women. With the annual cost of nursing homes at nearly $90,000 a year, you may want to consider adding long-term care protection to your insurance needs. Okay? So if 70% of the people in care facilities are ladies, well, you might want to save up for that just in case. Another stat that's not on there is that at age 65, there is a 70% probability that both men and women will need long-term care assistance. Okay? At age 65, there's a 70% chance that men or women will need long-term care assistance. So do you have enough to supplement that $90,000 a year in case your health deteriorates and you need assistance? Okay? How much does that add up to in just 3 years? That would add up to approximately, what, 280,000? Okay? 280,000, that could wipe out your savings. So an emergency fund, savings equal to 3 to 6 months of living expenses, is critical in dealing with health issues, accidents, or other unexpected costs. Utilize Social Security, divorce, and survivor benefits. Divorced spouses can receive spousal benefits if marriage lasted at least 10 years and recipient is currently unmarried. I literally had a widowed client. She was about 84, and she was actually married still. But her spouse had passed away, but it just so happened that she had been previously married to someone years back for more than 10 years who had passed away, who had made more income than the most recent husband. So basically, she tapped into the old spouse's Social Security, which she was married to way back in the day for 10 years. And literally, you can do those tricky things to take advantage of the system. So a planning tip, consider starting spousal benefits at full retirement age and then switching to your own benefits at age 70 to maximize income.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
I know it's away, but I don't want to forget it. How does that affect the spouse? Like, if my husband's ex-wife is not remarried and she can do that, how does that affect his income for retirement?
Okay, so he's married to you though, so that she couldn't do that.
Well, she can't.
Yes.
Oh,
So as it says,
they're married.
divorced spouses can receive spousal benefits if married for at least 10 years and recipient is currently unmarried.
Oh, I was thinking that it was she stopped married.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you.
Sure, great question. Question?
So you're saying like if two people were married and one of them died, if the other person's Social Security was higher, they can switch to that one? And is there an age cutoff where you can do that?
Yes, that was part of the illustration on those previous pages that basically showed if you were to take Social Security at 62, being yourself, a female, an example would be something like $700. And if you were to wait until full retirement at age 66, it would be $1,000. But then if you were to wait until 70, it would be something like considerably more than that. Okay? But if your spouse passes away prior to that, you can look into the illustrations with Social Security to determine whether or not you want your Social Security income or your spouse's. Because you very well may, his income might have been a bit higher. Good question. So widows can keep their own benefit or switch to the deceased spouse benefit if it is higher, exactly what you're talking about. Okay? A planning tip. Should your survivor benefit be higher, you may want to avoid taking it before your full retirement age, which is age 66 and 67. Remember, that's the sweet spot. Age 66, 67, that's considered full retirement age. For all those born after 1943. Otherwise, your survivor benefit could be reduced by as much as 28.5% if you tap into it a little too early. Remember, ladies, don't overlook your husband's retirement plan benefits. Planning tip for divorce benefits. If you decide to ask for a share of your husband's employer-based retirement benefits, be sure to get a court order, generally known as a Qualified Domestic Relations Order, QDRO. Is this the first time that you ladies have heard about that? Yes. A QDRO gives legal permission to the plan sponsor to pay you income. Okay? Planning tip for survivor benefits. Discuss how your husband's pension plan should be distributed before something unexpected occurs. Consider a joint and survivor benefit that will continue even after your husband passes away. There are numerous illustrations where I've sat down with clients, just even recently, in the last month. This gentleman just retired in the last month and a half, and he could have opted for just taking his retirement or his pension all on his own, which would have been a really hearty income each year. But if he were to pass away, there would have been nothing left for his wife. So we looked at the other illustrations to show, well, if he were to take a little less from his own income or from his pension and still leave a certain amount for his wife, how would that change? So ladies, please remember to always do a joint and survivor benefit on those accounts which your husband are on to make sure it continues, the benefits continue to you. Okay? Be careful about waiving your right to spousal benefits if you're concerned about not having income after your husband's death. Do not waive that, your spousal benefits. So lastly, right after this, do you mind? Oh, go right ahead, actually.
Well, just real quick, who do you contact about the survival benefits? Who would you talk to?
Great question. That's where you would want to talk to a financial advisor like myself or anyone else that you trust with finances like that. But if you have further questions like that, feel free to come down to our booth down below or even shortly after this, and we'll talk about how we can sit down in the future and get a game plan going so that these issues are addressed. Okay? So let's summarize the 5 strategies to secure your financial future. Number 1, once again, is maximize your IRAs and your 401k plans. Remember, if your company is matching you 5% and you're putting in 5%, at the end of the day, in essence, you're putting 10% in total into your 401k plan or your pension. If you're not taking advantage of that, you're literally throwing away free money. Number 2, make sure your portfolio has the growth potential necessary to keep up with rising costs, as we've talked about, inflation. Number 3, take full advantage of your Social Security benefits. Number 4, guarantee more income for life to help ensure that your essential and lifestyle expenses are covered throughout retirement. And lastly, number 5, prepare for the unexpected with adequate insurance, an emergency cash fund, and a plan to maximize divorce and survivor benefits. The floor is open for questions.
Is it better that you wait until you're 70 to use your Social Security and use your 401k?
Great. The question was, is it better to wait to take advantage of your Social Security at 70 and in the meantime tap into your 401k? Ideally, if you could and you could live comfortably doing that, yes. Yes. But of course, that really depends on every single client in determining whether or not they can live comfortably off that income coming from those sources, other sources. Does that answer that question? Okay. So in essence, let's say you hold off on Social Security, as we mentioned, and instead of getting like $1,000, it literally would have increased 76% if you were to wait until age 70, okay? That would be great because you just know you have a future income that's increased by 76%. But in order to make it to 70 years old, to wait that long, you need some sort of income coming in, which is your 401k or an annuity or anything else that you can go ahead and start investing in the meantime to build that up over time. Great question. Go ahead.
Coincide because I'm planning on retiring at the end of this year, so I was thinking about like not touching my Social Security, but like investing in it. If I take it, just like put it, it's not used, but like let it make money for me. So it's going to be good to do that, or just stick to 70 years old.
So the question is, if I were to take my Social Security sooner than 70 and actually use that to invest it, would that be better than waiting until 70? I believe at the end of the day, that's a great question. Not too many people ask that question, but at the end of the day, when you think about it, you're assured a growth of at least 76% if you do wait to age 70. If you do invest that money in other alternatives, there's no assurance that it will grow that much. Does that make sense? Because you'll have it in stocks, you'll have it in bonds. Yes, but that's a great question. And that's a great question because we can do a financial review for you, or the financial advisor that you feel comfortable with. Hopefully he runs a financial plan for you to determine which scenario would be best for you. Great question.
Okay, as a teacher, can I get CalSTRS and PERS and my social security? Because they take out, and they have, I like to switch districts. I had CalPERS, now I have CalSTRS and social security, so can I get them all at the same time?
Great question, great question. If you had contributed them to the past, well, basically that's almost like depositing in a bank. In the future, you should be able to make withdrawals from those accounts because you at one time had served there. But great question. Yes, and we could talk about that in greater detail down at the booth if you'd like. We're kind of running short on time, but next question.
I had some, I work for the government, so I don't think I can do anything with how much I contribute, but I have a deferred comp that I've been using, about 50,000. But I was using money over a 2-year period every quarter with the variety of investments they were doing for me, differentiating the investment. So I went to a stable option, so I don't lose my money, but the interest is very low, but I'm making little. I don't know if that's a better way to go. I have 5 years to retire.
Okay, so the scenario is, thank you for bringing that up, that's perfect. Your name? Isla? Okay, so Isla is going to retire in 5 years. She has approximately $50,000 that she's growing in a deferred compensation plan.
Aside from my retirement.
Yes, and she would like to know, was it wise to go ahead and continue with the money in the conservative manner? It's probably in bonds in your portfolio, I'm guessing, knowing that she's about to retire in 5 years. That's a
I'm not losing anything, but I lost every quarter for 2 years. Everything I put in was lost.
True,
So I just said, put the brakes on it, and just give me stable option, which was not much.
True.
3%, I don't even know, it's not much.
Yes. Now, a portfolio like that, I mean, a lot of people had gone ultra conservative like that over the last 10, 12 years because those 401ks became 201ks, and they wanted to make sure it didn't become zero. But what's happening now is that you literally see a shift from bonds, the safer investments, going into equities, which are stocks. So anyone who's been primarily only in bonds, you've seen your portfolios go down in value. And you're probably asking, how can that be happening when I should be getting 4 or 5% on average in something very safe? But what will happen is that as interest rates go up, which they will, because interest rates are at all-time lows, as interest rates go up, the principal in those bonds will go down. So it's good to have a diversified portfolio with some equities in there and some other investments to make sure that you're getting greater than inflation. Remember, inflation's 4%. You need to beat that, ladies. Great question. We have time for like 1 or 2 more questions. Yes?
I'm 62 and retired. Should I leave my pension on a fixed rate or invest some stocks and bonds?
When do you plan on retiring?
I retired at 61 and a half.
Oh, you just retired 61 and a half. Okay.
I'm now 62.
Okay.
I have my pension under fixed rate and I'm thinking of investing part of it to stocks and bonds to help some more income.
Yes.
Would that be advisable?
Now, before I go ahead and put my foot in my mouth, it would be wise to sit down with a financial advisor you feel very comfortable with, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you off-grid about that. But I will tell you this, you're 61 years old. You still do have time in your life to make this money grow. Are you taking income from it now? You are. Okay. So that changes the dynamics. You'll want to make sure that you can take income without losing that principal, because that's probably what you have to fall back on. So before I go into that too much, you really need to sit down with an advisor, and we've got some financial tools, great financial tools, that can take a snapshot where you're at to make sure that you can make it through the entire retirement phase comfortably with income and also possibly take care of your beneficiaries. But yes, that's a bit complicated, and for me to answer it here wouldn't serve it enough justice, but I'd be more than happy to talk to you later. Any other questions? I can field one more. Yes?
Okay. I am like 9 months older than my husband. above a certain amount?
It would depend on you more so. If you're 66, actually, I'm about 95% sure on that. Your husband, if you're going to tap into your husband's Social Security, which I
I would probably collect on mine.
okay, if you're going to collect on yours, of course, once you hit 66, you're fine. You'll get.
He will not have been filed jointly. He will not be 66.
Yes, so he would just have to wait on his Social Security until he turns 66, and in the meantime, you can tap into yours.
Won't be penalized because of our joint income will be.
No, it shouldn't be penalized at all. It's just that you just got to think of the time barometer, just saying it's time. You've baked. You got to pull it out now, and that's that. For you, it's 66, and your husband's 66. But you do need to wait until that time. But you won't be penalized. You shouldn't be, unless, of course, you're really trying to rearrange things. But with that being said, thank you so much for attending today, and hopefully it was useful advice. Thank you.